Guten Morgen. Yes, good morning. We are at Stuttgart and a construction site. We're not even doing a tour of a construction site. We're going to be boarding a train to Zurich, but I thought it's a nice place to start outside here in the construction zone for what they're wanting to build. And I say wanting to build because this is a construction that's been going on for a long time here in Stuttgart, and it's going to continue for a few more years. If my memory serves me right and what I've read, it was supposed to be finished by now or very shortly, but it's not even close. Anyway, where are we traveling today is what we're doing. We're going on an IC train. So we've done the ICE train, which is the Intercity Express. Today we're just doing an intercity train. It's a double decker and we're traveling into Switzerland. Upstairs, I think, is where we're going to be sat. We are in, of course, first class because we're doing it on the EURAIL, and we're about to go board our intercity train all the way down to Zurich. So let's go do this through our construction site. I don't have a hard hat. I don't even have a high-vid vest, so we're staying this side of that fence, even though I'd love to see what's on the other side of that fence here, because it does look amazing how it's going to be completed. A completely redesigned station. They're coming in this way, they're then going to be going out this way. Insane. Let's go find this train, platform 2. So as the train isn't in yet, that is platform 2, and our train isn't in, we're here early enough, so let's have a look around Stuttgart station at the moment. Upstairs, up here where we are at the moment, is where all the intercity trains and major trains connect. The S Bahn and the U Bahn are downstairs in the underground, and that is what the station's supposed to look like once it's complete. And we can actually have a look through our windows, and you can see down there escalators and some of the track. So at the moment it's going. Hey. So I was just interrupted there because we're filming through that window that you can actually view through, but you need a permit to do that. So you know that video you're just seeing of that construction site that's getting rebuilt with the stations? I don't know how that happened. How did that end up in this video? And here comes the double-decker IC train to Zurich. We've got about 20 minutes to get on the train. (10:27) to Zurich. Let's jump on board it, get our luggage in, and away we go. Got the lower deck first class. That is the quiet zone. We're up in the noisy zone. Luggage. And away we go. Let's talk about the seats here on first class on the IC 185 to Zurich as we travel through the German countryside. Up in the upper deck, it is a 2x2 configuration, except this seat, a single seat by itself at the back of the carriage if you're travelling in that direction. If you're travelling that way, then it's at the front of the carriage. It's right next to the luggage. As you can probably see, there is the luggage, and it's at the top of the stairs. It is probably the biggest legroom seat there is, with plenty of room, but of course no window, but it is for the disabled. The seats do come with a recline. Again, just press that button and everybody up and back, as that was already in decline, and forward. And that's all it is. It just moves it up and back a little bit. This seat at the back, of course, has a giant table, huge table here, perfect for laptops, anything you want to do on that. 4x4. And we've got the tables that fold out to make it bigger. Fantastic, plenty of room, cup holder, nice and big table, great view out the window as well. So each seat of 4 is at the window, which just makes viewing a great view from up top, which is fantastic. Alongside you've got the rubbish, nice and clean, which is good start of the trip. And of course you can see on that seat there, armrests do go up and down. The one alongside the window doesn't, so that one doesn't go up, but the one in the middle does. In the middle is the power. No USB, but it does have power sockets, so you can plug in a European power point into that, and away you go to get power to your seat. This is the 4x4 seats on the IC train, to Zurich. Headrest doesn't move up, but it does have the outers there. So when you put it into a reclined spot, if we recline the seat, that is actually at a perfect spot to just sit back and enjoy the view out the window. And as I said, the windows are huge on these trains, and on the upper deck you do get a great view of the scenery as you fly through the German countryside. So great little seat here in first class.
Checking out the rest of the train, the second class seating is arranged in a 2x2 seating configuration, with 4 seats separated by the group table. At the end of each section, there is a large area for bikes and luggage, and it's being well used today. Up the stairs, you'll find the vending machines and bench tables, which gives you extra space to eat and drink, but I've got a lot more to say about that very shortly.
That's stunning. The canola fields there. That is huge what's getting built here. What is that? If you know what that is below, can you put the comments in? That is a huge bridge. Now, I hope I pronounced this right, but as a singer, that's probably not right. We go in, and now we're going back out, and wasn't expecting to go the other way. So, off we go. Next stop is Switzerland, and then we'll be in Zurich in probably about 40 minutes time. So we now zoom off to Zurich, and as you can see, the rain has set in outside, so the picture changes again. So I don't want to be negative in these videos. That's one thing that I've always tried to make sure that they're positive, and they tell the story of an experience that we have. Deutsche Bahn need to get their act together. This may sound negative, but it's an honest feedback.
So let's start with some honest feedback. The train out of Stuttgart was on its first run for the day. An hour into the 4-hour trip, and 3 out of the 4 toilets, including the disabled kiddies changing toilet, is already out of action. The one toilet that is working in our car was already starting to flood, and staff were thinking of closing it. The IC train today that we're on doesn't come with a restaurant car, so instead they've installed the vending machines. Perfectly fine and acceptable. However, you do need to make sure that they're working, and on today's trip, they weren't. So, the condition of the train. The automatic doors between cars aren't working, and staff are physically trying to open them so passengers are able to move around the train. Now, before the comments light up, if you pick a seat, you stay in it, valid question. Problem is, out of the 5 cars that this train is made up of, 3 of the cars don't have AC working. So it's like a German sauna, just with clothes on. There was a local couple sitting with us from Stuttgart. They couldn't be more embarrassed and said sorry so many times about the conditions of the train and the way DB were operating. It's a sad reflection of DB. The ICE train down to Cologne was amazing. The train down to Stuttgart, equally just as good. But today's trip was a massive letdown in terms of the condition. The only thing that saved it was the view out the window.
Outside there is Switzerland. We're coming into a place called Schaffenhausen. Hopefully I've said that right. Comment below if I haven't. I'm murdering words, so I may as well continue that murdering of words, but we've got one stop left and then we're in Zurich, so we've got to go through more tunnels.
Ladies and gentlemen, next up now Schaffhausen.
Schaffenhausen was pretty much right. We're in Switzerland. That is spectacular.
It's not Niagara.
They even have a broken blind. we're in the outskirts of Zurich. Soon we'll be in the capital. What a great view of that airport.
Dear passengers, we're about to arrive at Zurich Central Station on platform number 5. The exit is on the right hand side.
And after a couple of hours on the DB train from Stuttgart, we finally arrive in Zurich. Glad to be off that train and now looking for some Swiss rail to take us down to Lucerne. We do feel for the passengers that are about to board that train back to Stuttgart in the condition it is. That's not going to be a pleasant ride at all. DB, they really need to improve their services, and we were just about to see what first class service on Swiss rail was at. But before we do that, let's have a look around Zurich station and then board the train down to Lucerne.
Zurich station, it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be, and there's a funky little bit of art. We're going to go around and have a look at this funky little bit of art before we figure out where our train is leaving from, because it's still not on the board. So I thought may as well have a quick look around, have a look at this funky bit of art on the roof. Funky bit of art on the roof. Gorgeous station, wonderful, beautiful. It's a bit cool, but hey, it's still warm. Need to figure out where this train's leaving from, so I think it's time to go back to the board, have a look, check out what platform we're going to leave from, and head down to Lucerne. And there is our train that's going to be going to Lucerne. So this is an upper and lower deck. We are on the lower deck in first class this time round. The upper deck probably has some great views, which we might, as the trip goes along, we'll have a look at those views. But at the moment, we're on the lower deck. So very much the same setup as the previous train with DB, but it is Swiss clean. Very clean indeed. And we are now off to Lucerne as we now depart Zurich. If you ever get this train, it's best to sit on the right hand side in direction of travel, and you do get a pretty cool view, but as I say, the buildings and the weather has turned.
I only got 10 more minutes.
As we make our final approach to Lucerne, it's been a long day travelling down from Stuttgart. We travelled on a DB train that just wasn't up to standard, from toilets, vending machines, doors and AC not working, and that's just to name a few things. It was a pleasant surprise jumping onto the Swiss rail network to see the toilets working, an air conditioner working on the train, and staff that was so helpful, it was unbelievable. The trip down to Zurich and Lucerne was also welcomed with beautiful scenery out the window of mountain ranges, lakes, and so much more that was on offer in Switzerland. The journey had been worth it just for this section of the trip.
And we've arrived in Lucerne. 2 trains travelled from Stuttgart to Zurich, Zurich to Lucerne, and we've made it down here to Lucerne. And that's the trip from Zurich down here to Lucerne done. We're now going to find our apartment. Thank you so much for joining me today on this epic journey from Stuttgart all the way down here to Lucerne. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. What a trip that was. DB really need to improve their trains. Swiss, that was perfect. Absolutely amazing. Even the guard on that train was superb. Until the next one, thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye.